If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tip today on 1-800-938-007.
Broadcasting from Nina today, and our GP, Dr. Pat Harrold, is with us. Good morning, GP Pat.
Good morning, Frank. How are
and
you?
Happy New Year. Is it too late to say Happy New Year now? I don't know.
Oh, you can say it. You can say it for ages. Yes, it's the Chinese New Year.
Memories coming back to you as well from our conversations. You remember? Was there a lemonade factory?
There was a lemonade factory up around what they call Mary Spain's Corner, which is, when you go past the post office there's a roundabout now at the at the crossroads there was, I think it was called Dags. There was Dags up there, and there was certainly a lemonade factory in there. And the Bergens were across the road. If Pat Bergen or any of the Bergens are listening, they might remember. But I think the Dags, there was a lemonade factory there. You never knew what would be going on. Everybody sort of made their own things. And everything was locally sourced, which was pretty wonderful, really.
Yeah, and of course the local jobs as well, which was
local jobs. And the other thing was, I think you might have touched on this. If you were a young fella from Nina and there was no work going, you'd fetch over to Wolverhampton, because there'd be sure to be a couple of relations working there. And when I was going to school, suddenly you'd find fellas turning up with Wolverhampton accents. You see, they'd moved back to Nina, and they all had the Black Wolves gear.
Following the team as well.
To this day, a lot of Nina people support Wolves soccer team.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, like my pal Michael Leo now, he'd be a Wolves fan. Poor old Wolves aren't doing the best at the moment.
No, I was just going to say it, but I said I won't.
They're kind of an unofficial Nina team.
Are they indeed?
Yeah.
And somebody else to remember, of course, the late Sean O'Shea, who passed away the day before yesterday, I think it was. He was a friend of your dad's, was he?
He was, because my dad was a big Irish speaker, and he was a sean-nós singer.
Yeah.
And so I remember in the Ormond Hotel, which was just beside us here, it's gone now, unfortunately. It was the hotel where the Gate Theatre was founded. I don't know if I ever told you that.
No.
Michael Liam Moore and Hilton Edwards were on tour with Anya McMaster, and John Riggs Miller used to be a member of that troupe, and he used to travel around the country.
Yeah.
And they fetched up in the Ormond, and they thought, sod this for again, the soldiers. Like, we'll make our own theatre. So they sat down and they roughed out the plan for the Gate Theatre, and that's where it was founded.
Wow.
The Ormond Hotel. But that's, what was I talking about, Frank?
Sean O'Shea.
Sean O'Shea. And they used to hold Common Merriman down there. And Paddy O'Brien, the great accordion player, used to play down there. And Sean O'Shea would be singing. Prunchis McAnisa was there, Sean McRaman, and all these guys used to see on television. But I remember Neil Tobin used to be the star of the show down there, and he'd be
divil, bloody divil.
But the thing about Sean O'Shea, he must have. I think he was probably the last of the Oreada Sagaiety team, which was groundbreaking music. And but Sean was an incredible storyteller and a lovely, lovely person. Like our own Nora Butler, he'd drive anywhere. He'd drive sort of 100 miles for.
But what I loved, I accompanied him a couple of times. But what I loved about him was that he was so easy to go. Like, if you were playing the piano, come here and play with me. Like, there was no such thing as rehearsal or anything. But of course, everybody knew Pucker Brille anyway. So
and he had a lot more than that. He had lots of songs. Carrick Fergus. Alternated the Irish and the English. And there's a strong feeling that
Bantry Bay. He did a beautiful job at Bantry Bay.
And there was one about For Sports Day or something. It's amazing stuff.
Yeah. A lot of funny songs.
If you've a break in the week, you might play an old. Something that isn't Pucker Brille for me.
We'll have to, for sure. And now we have to dismiss all that nice stuff there and talk about bowel issues, because it's prevalent, isn't it? Bowel cancer.
Yeah. Rory Shaddick said to me this morning, well, there's bowels in Antrim and there's bowels in Cork, but I don't think they do bowels. He went road bowling. But Leanne, who's very clever, far cleverer than we are, Fran, set me on a thing from a really interesting researcher. He sounds very Irish, in London, and in a hospital in London they have every sample of bowel tissue taken from cancer patients going back 100 years, and they preserve them in paraffin, which is because they haven't destroyed the DNA. And because, for two reasons it's very important. One is bowel cancer rates have gone up massively, especially in young people worldwide, not just here. And secondly, with AI, they can crunch all those numbers and come up, hopefully, with a common denominator to find out what's happening there. So now, he thinks it's multifactorial. There could be a few different issues. But the one that antibiotics came in sort of in the 50s, And that changed our bowel flora. And to give flour, people get a bit sort of weird about germs and things. If you think of your bowel, it should be like a garden. And there's loads of helpful little bugs that dissolve things and break things down, and they make vitamin K, and they're we're only touching the surface of how necessary they are. Your biome. And your garden should be think of them like birds and bees and butterflies. They are healthy things. And when you have an antibiotic, you just destroy all that. So, the people who are rattling in and they have a bit of a cold in the head for 2 days and they think they need an antibiotic, and we were saying it's a virus. You don't. Because antibiotic is anti-life, and they kill things, and they kill a bit more than the bug you're trying to kill. So it's not that we don't use them, but we use them sparingly and appropriately. And probiotics, the opposite. They're pro-life, and they're things you should take after antibiotics to get your bowel health back to normal. But there's a few things you can do to keep your bowel health going. And I'm going to list them out now.
Okay.
One is, if you have a family history of bowel cancer, get checked. Go talk about it to your doctor, especially if it's a first-degree relative. If your dad or mum had it, get checked. Because bowel cancer is, if it's caught in time, it's just brilliant. They literally take it out, put the thing back together, no stoma, no chemo, nothing. It's in such an inaccessible place.
It's great, yeah.
So the sad thing is, it's usually, well, not usually, but quite often, it's spread a bit before people can find out.
Yeah.
And by the time you start showing symptoms. The second thing is the bowel screen kit. Now, off the top of my head, I can't remember the age. I think between 60 and 70 people can avail of that. And I think only about a third of people in Ireland do. So if you've got a handy person on a computer, you can do it on your phone.
Yes.
Just
We're
register.
running ads about it, I know, at the moment.
Register for bowel screen.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing to do in the privacy of your own loo. Send it off. And I've had a good few patients now who hadn't a jither there was anything wrong, and they got a letter saying, come for a scope, and it saved their lives.
Isn't that incredible?
It absolutely has. And not so much saved their lives, but saved them. If you know about it when it's just starting off, apparently the wee tumours start to bleed, so the blood shows up in the stool. You can't see it. It's microscopic. But they do that, and then they do the scope, and if they just see a wee bleeding polyp or something, take it out, and it's sorted, So you'd be mad not to.
Wouldn't you just? The doctor I think you're referring to is Kevin Monaghan, is it?
Kevin Monaghan,
Monaghan, yeah. And he's on about this link with the E. coli bacteria. And is that because E. coli will flourish in a place that has been devastated by antibiotics?
Well, you've got a bit of E. coli, and there's loads of different E. colis. It's like if you had a load of dog breeds, spaniels, and there's loads of different types of spaniels. So some things are what are called pathogenic E. coli, they're dangerous E. coli, there's harmless E. coli, there's necessary E. coli just means of the colon, of the bowel,
Yes.
So, he found out that, now there's one, he isn't really making huge assumptions, but there's one thing people do know, is that fibre, there was a very famous doctor called Dr. Burkett, and he was out in the jungles in Africa, a Fermanagh man, Enniskillen man. I kind of been in his company, if you know what I mean. I don't think he knew I was there, but he came, he used to knock up out Enniskillen Hospital occasionally and talk to us, and he found that if you take fibre in your diet, you have a much less incidence of appendicitis. See, there's a load of conditions. Now this is going back 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
And he found that the Africans, because their poo was about twice the size or weight of the European poo, they had plenty of fibre.
Right.
Now, so I remember in the hospital, they all took this on board, and they all said, we should eat more fibre. So they put everybody in bran, which is horse food. Now, nobody actually said the Africans aren't eating bran. They're eating mangoes, they're eating papayas, they're eating vegetables and fruit. Loads of it. That's why it's all going through their system.
Yes.
And that led to a load of breakfast cereals, all these wheaty, branny stuff, which is horse food and not good for you. Because you should always think, like, what did my granny eat? If you're going to eat anything, the one thing they know about bowel cancer, a food that is processed meat. Because if you've got your pepperonis, your salamis, your bacon, all that is stoked in preservatives. Because if it wasn't, it would go off. And the thing that stops the bacteria from making the meat goes off. Your garden in your bowel, your little birds and bees, they get killed. So if you're going to eat salami, and if you're going to have bacon every morning, and then you're going to have a burger at lunchtime with a bit of bacon on top of it, and then you're going to have a pizza that evening, you have 3 doses of pesticide. It's like that effect on your. So really cut down the processed meat, and eating meat generally. Make sure it's meat from the butcher. It's not processed, and any kind of processed food isn't good. If you look at the ingredients in the back of the packet, if there's more than 3, what you're eating is chemicals. If you're getting yogurt's great for the bowel. Natural yogurt, that's it. You don't need colorants, xanthine, palm oil, gum, all this kind of stuff, which, a lot of these things are very new. They didn't have them in the 1930s.
Of course, yeah. Is the obesity epidemic, as it's described sometimes, is that playing into this in some way as well?
Very probably. And constipation is a huge thing.
Is it?
You really should be eating 5 different types of vegetable and 2 types of fruit a day. Now, who's doing that, And so... you have to keep it moving. And there's lots of other things to happen to bowels beside cancer. For anyone who's knocking on about over 50, there's a thing called diverticulitis. And that's becoming more and more. Because it's like a pipe. You want to keep... And also the effect on your pelvic muscles and all that. If you've got a loaded sort of a bowel going around all the time, you want to keep the thing moving. Now, it's a very interesting sign if you are grown up and you've a change in bowel habit. If you always went like the Dublin train once a day, and then you suddenly find yourself going once every couple of days or going twice a day, it's more likely that can be an early sign of bowel problem. So if that's going on now, you can, eat a dodgy something, or you can change. But if it's going on for more than a couple of weeks, get it checked out.
Right, so that's a sign that you need to maybe have.
Absolutely, and don't ever feel embarrassed or anything, because your doctor's heard it all before, and we'd rather hear things, because there's such a delay in getting things checked out, publicly and privately these days. The sooner we hear about these things, the better we like it.
Of course, yeah, but it is worrying about the numbers where young people are concerned in particular, isn't it?
It is worrying about young people. But then again, I'm just wondering, why do they feed kids crap food? Kids get some sugary cereal for breakfast. Then they get, a children's menu, chicken nuggets and chips and sausages and chips and something and chips. That's all processed garbage. That you're giving your little children. Now, they should be eating normal food.
Yeah.
And as for those breakfast cereals, don't be talking to me. I
wouldn't mind. We were all brought up thinking, bran was the thing. I mean, if you could tolerate. Now, luckily, I couldn't tolerate it, but if you could, it was the thing to have.
Roughage. But it's not what Burke had said. He said you should be eating fruit. And back to the lemonade factory, as local as you can and from your backyard. Yeah. So the messages, I want to just drill this in. Family history, get checked out. Change in bowel habit, get checked out. Do your bowel checky thing. Don't eat anything if there's more than 3 ingredients in it.
Yeah, but it's simple advice.
And if you do eat meat, and if you do eat meat, go to the butcher and don't eat it every day of the week. Yeah. Give it a bit of a rest.
Are you appalled at what you've been hearing about Mercosur, for example, the possibility that we would be flooded with meat from dodgy sources? And
I have my doubts about Mercosur from the point of view of the Amazon rainforest. But I also think that in the greater scheme of things, the way the world is lining up at the moment, we'd be mad not to do it. Because if they say like they said when the Brexit came in, that we would have...
we'd be mad not to do a deal.
Yeah, well, they said, 70% of the beef sold in Ireland, in England, that was Irish, that was gone from 70 to 68. If Brazilian beef comes in, they're talking about 1% or something like that. That is, and at the same time, I think, if big agri-tech and big meat suppliers can hold the whole country to ransom, because there's a heck of a lot more than that in Ireland. It's a big market for people. And, most of those cows are fed on grain that comes from South America anyway. Yeah. So, are you saying there's a little hypocrisy there somewhere? Oh, and I think the way the government caved and the way the independent TDs just went for the populist vote,
But are you of two minds? With your green hat on, you're saying they're cutting down the rainforest so they can.
Well, they're cutting down the rainforest for the grain to feed the Irish cows anyway. You know, I mean, look, in 200 years' time, they'll be thinking, what were we doing eating meat at all? There's no need for us to eat it anymore. I mean, there's plenty of alternatives. We don't have to eat meat.
I'm glad the show is coming to an end because I can't take the amount of abuse I'm going to get now.
Well, no, I do eat a bit myself, you know,
yes.
but I probably shouldn't, you know, and...
At all?
You could get away. You'd want to be well structured, you know, but vegetarians are healthier. Like, look at a gorilla or a chimpanzee, they're as strong as innocent and they don't eat meat either. Well, apart from if they find a dead monkey or something. But, you know, but we go back to the grandmother. Like, you know, when they killed the pig, they preserved it in salt water and then they hung it and they dried it. But they didn't put in a load of chemicals.
Yes.
So this is the food. But Mercosur, in some ways good, some ways bad. But I think the effect on Irish meat will be minimal because that's it. But the fact that we have basically let ourselves down in Europe by negotiating for these things and then not backing it up. And they were so good to us during Brexit. You know, it's got to give a bit give and take, which has given the right-wing parties a great chance to have a go at us. You know, it's, you know, you want to be a bit sensible about these things, you know. Interesting opinion, and that's Pat's opinion. I hasten to add that as well. Dorothy from Cloughjordan says, thank you, Pat, for mentioning our dad, John Riggs Miller. Nice man. Dorothy Riggs Miller. Yeah.
Nice,
we went to school together.
All right. That's a wrap.
Great man he was. Great actor and everything. He was a marvellous guy.
Wonderful. Pat, pleasure as
Take
always.
care.
Thanks very much indeed. Our GP, Dr. Pat Harrold. That's it for me. Leanne produced. Ali looks after content. Stephen has the time tunnel on the lunchtime show. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Look after yourselves in the meantime. Bye-bye now.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.